right, great stuff. Well, Marshall, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
All right, great. I started in fast food many years ago, and I started in high school, and it became a first love of mine. I had no idea that I was going to love leadership and customer service and development so much. I went off. Went to school, did a few other things, dabbled in distribution, dabbled in manufacturing, and outsourcing, and everything seemed to point back to leadership. And a few years ago, a friend of mine called me from the very first QSR industry job that I had and invited me to come over to a brand called Zaxby's. And I said, well, I've been there, done that a little bit. What you got in mind? Started as a consultant, got into it, fell in love with the brand, and here I am 4 years later as director of operations. Still loving it.
That's that's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. And when you say you came in as a consultant as well, like your background, obviously, I was just having a little perusal of your background. Do you want to like illuminate how that, like your background and how you kind of ended up in there as a consultant as well?
Certainly. I started in the fast food industry, worked my way up from a crew member to a general manager, then from there to a corporate trainer, from there to a district leader. I was also a field HR manager where I had within my pathway upwards of 164 restaurants that
Whoa.
I worked closely with the regional directors, with everything from staffing to HR matters and leadership.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so now as like director of field operations as well in your role at Zaxby's, like how many locations, like you mentioned 160 in your previous, is it that many, or is it like how what are you what's your field of vision, so to speak?
Well, I am proud to say for the franchising side, we have 800 plus
Yeah.
locations on this side. We have a total of 900 plus locations, primarily located within the southeastern part of the United States,
Yep.
but we are actively opening in other major states such as Maryland, moving
Yeah.
quickly in Texas, all those different types of places, opening up the first in Las Vegas. So we are rapidly growing and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, whoa, I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many locations always like blows my mind,
Yeah,
always just
mine too.
yeah, it's like people can't get enough. People can't get enough.
Yeah.
Um, tell me like so like obviously you're so hands-on in sort of the operations of the franchises and obviously like to go to market for all the new ones. Like, do you have like NSO teams or is it all like ladder up to you? Like, how do you even go about like launching a new one?
Oh wow. Well, I'll tell you this. We have amazing teams. And I tell you that's the largest portion of my job. I wouldn't be able to do anything without the amazing people that I
Yeah,
work with. We have a phenomenal entire director of a new store openings team. She leads
yeah,
a phenomenal team that she works vigorously with new licensees that come into the brand.
yeah.
She helps them from the beginning of, picking out the colors, the design to actually that opening day of serving up hot, fresh chicken tenders. There's my team. I have three fabulous new field operations managers, 20 plus field consultants that work closely with established licensees and new
Yeah.
licensees to help them come aboard and really have a great experience with Zaxby's.
That's incredible. And I guess I mean, there's so many locations now. That sort of formal
Yeah.
process has been kind of like designed. It's funny because I interview some people and they're say like at say 50 locations or they whichever, and it's like a lot of them don't have those sort of processes even at that size. And so it's very much like the one person, trying to figure out how to hire the people to even go stand up those organizations, or
Oh,
how do they think about like sort of the process for promoting people internally and giving them an opportunity. Like, hey, you're likely to have to move to Florida for the next 2 years. This opportunity exists, but you got to move to Florida. It's like because they don't really have these teams. So it's amazing you have that. I guess then, like, what are your three biggest like challenges that you think you're going to face in 2024 now, given that it seems like you're growing into Maryland, you're growing rapidly into Texas. Like, what are the challenges that you're going to face in your job over the next 12 months?
well, right now it's pretty much aligned with the industry. industry type of challenges that we're having right now for the QSR industry.
Yeah.
It is somewhat a challenge, not only for our brand, for others, but to really surround ourselves with people that um, love giving great customer service.
Yeah.
Right now, coming out of COVID, it brought about a lot of different things. A lot of people have more options to work from home.
Yeah.
So, looking for applicants that want to get back out and applicants that want to have that great customer interaction and contact with customers, is
Yeah.
the entire industry challenge right now.
Totally. And I hear that a lot, from people in the sense of like, coming out of COVID, it was like all hands on deck, get as many bodies as we can. We need to restaff up the stores.
That's right.
We've now restaffed with so many warm bodies that just aren't capable or aren't good enough or aren't as interested. We need now quality. And now the conversation has very much veered into like the retention because it's so hard to find the right
That's right.
people, that there seems to have been a reset in terms of like the cultural viewpoint of retaining staff within hospitality. Do you feel like, say, at Zaxby's, that you guys have kind of like really had a bit of a culture reset in how you think about how employees are sort of treated as well?
Oh, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
We've actually started to dig into the culture, and we are thoroughly embracing DE and I
Mm.
within everything that we do, and learning how to make things a little bit more up to date, and understanding what the needs are now. The needs are so different than what they were, years ago, even as soon as a couple of years ago, with everything with COVID and everyone still in that mindset of working from home, not quite being comfortable with working outside. And it has changed the QSR industry. Folks, some people want less human contact. They want their food, they want it
Yeah.
hot, they want it fresh. And the interaction to some people now is, I'm okay with friendly, but as long as it's hot, fresh, and fast, that's the focus. But
Yeah.
we're getting back to welcoming people to come in that want to have that human interaction, and, touching that first contact with that customer with a smile, and a smile in your voice, not only on your face,
Yeah.
is what's important. And we're developing and working more into our culture to make sure that we're helping people understand it's okay to come on back out. We want
Yeah.
you back out here so we can get that customer interaction.
It's interesting you say that because I hear that a lot from people, in the sense that like, you know, like say for example, somebody was telling me on the pod that like, before COVID, 70% of their business was in store and 30% was online. And post COVID, that's flipped to 70% online and 30% in store. And
That's
so what
right.
does that mean for the operation of the actual four walls itself in terms of like the utilization of space? Because if you think of
Oh,
like it from a square footage perspective, like what does that look like? And you're there talking about getting people back into the restaurant. Have you guys had to rethink about how you do your floors, how you rethink like how the what? Yeah, I see you laughing here, so I'll let you talk.
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. So, what we've done is we've gotten with our design team, and we are designing buildings that incorporate exactly what you're saying. We are utilizing things such as tablet order taking
Yeah,
outside, payment order taking outside, that enables us to get customers in and out faster.
yeah,
It also enables that more personable human touch. There are other chicken brands out there that are using tablet ordering outside, and we've adapted that practice. Also, we have dual lanes that are coming, and we're finding that a smaller footprint of dining room services, we are also really taking into account for our online
yeah,
business as well. Yes, we are hitting the ground running with our online services, making it very easy for customers to pull into slots. Let us know that you're there. We're bringing your food out to you.
yeah,
So, yep, really
yeah.
incorporating all of that.
It's amazing and amazing how that kind of evolution kind of happened
Absolutely.
like overnight. Like I presume, like during COVID when you were there, that like nobody knew what to do. There's no playbook for a pandemic. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you're like, how do we get curbside? How do we do online? How do we do like? I've spoken to a lot of people a lot of kind of groups, like sandwich kind of chains or whichever, that would like not be first to market for a lot of technology. Do you know
Right.
that would like, and they're okay with that. But how the pandemic basically forced them to like, no, like you got to change your business now. Like, got to change the way the business is run. And obviously, like you're in the business of margin. You know what I mean? Like, as in, you need to sell X number. Like, this is a revenue and margin. Like, you got to sell X number of sandwiches to like eat that margin. You know what I mean? And so, like, where costs can come down, because I know with digital and technology and all these things, there's like more
Yes.
costs to the bottom line. So it's like really figuring out how to like optimize that operation and experience. I definitely have like heard that from like so many people, again, like hopefully not a unique problem to you or unique challenge in the sense that like, everyone's kind of going through this sort of tumult, trying to figure out how to optimize their business as best as possible. But it sounds to me that you're incredibly bullish about it and that you're like, you kind of feel like you've come out the other side of it.
Well, it's very interesting that you bring that up because that is the way that we were able to survive. We
Yeah.
were in the beginning stages. It was very infantile when we began, and then COVID hit. We
Yeah.
had no choice but to adapt that. So that is one of the pluses that we did. Zaxby's was formed first within Georgia, and
Yeah.
we have the bulk of our locations located within the Atlanta, Georgia area.
Yeah.
With that, we started using tablets immediately, and we saw
Yeah.
a complete uptake from that. And then, as we began to evolve with everything third party online, and the third party services picking up orders, we quickly understood then that this was going to have to be within our near future. And so, this is how we're designing our stores now. We're setting up to have canopies outside so that we can take orders outside. We now have dual drive-through lines so that we can service not one lane of customers, but two,
Yeah.
and still have that customer contact.
Totally, exactly. And that's the thing, it's like at the end of the day, it's like what's the role of like sort of the human in this space now? Like in the sense that like you're gonna have your cooks that are putting the food together, but I speak to some people and they're using a lot more automation and how they put together their like sandwiches or their pizzas or whichever. And like say for example, like Shake Shack, like really having kiosk ordering within the store, and instead of having cashiers, have like hosts, for example, that help you around the sort of space to like help you learn that. Have you guys thought about how you like rethink like the people side of like what you're doing as well, or is it like very still kind of like traditional kind of if it ain't broke don't fix kind of bad?
At this moment, we are focusing on serving hotter, fresher product.
Yeah.
Right now, for this particular, we're born in the South, and that human contact for our customers is still increasingly so important.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say we're focusing on being more efficient, making
Yeah.
sure that our orders are correct and we're friendly while we're doing that. But most importantly, that our food is hot and fresh as we're serving. So, actually, what we're focusing on is continuing that hot,
Yeah.
fresh model and efficiency with
You
the
mentioned
employees that we do have.
it's interesting you say the hot and fresh thing. And is that
Mhm.
driven by like say third party? As in they're not telling you that, but like well, I had somebody on the pod and we were talking about this exact thing where customers don't blame the restaurant when they order food on third party because they expect it to be kind of like I don't want to use bad language, but be kind of like you like shittier, but like worse in the sense that like you take that sandwich, it takes 20 minutes in an Uber to get to you. It's not the same as getting it in the restaurant where like like the hot fumes and it's just all the spices and everything, and you're like, oh my god, this is why I'm here in the first place, which you don't really get at home when it's delivered to you via third party.
Mhm.
And so I was talking to somebody about that had a sub store, and I was like, they are doing the same thing, which they're
Mhm.
kind of based in like kind of Chicago-y kind of Midwestern area. And their whole
Right.
thing was very similar for this year, which was like nailing the food, the sort of like the emotions of somebody with the food when they get it, which is like the in-store piping hot fumes, kind of like
That's right.
steam coming out. You know what I mean? So it's interesting you're saying that, but he was saying to me that that was driven because they've done a lot of research into how third party and how people like engage with third party, and it's like
Mhm.
we've kind of accepted that we're kind of getting at a nor it's not going to be as good as the in-store. So it's like, how do you optimize like the packaging? How do you optimize like the heat trapping, all the different things to make sure that it gets as close to the in-store as possible, you know?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So we do have an entire innovation team that selects the best packaging for our product, and we actually conduct tests to see what's the amount and the length of time that our product holds the best with the particular packaging that we select and the
Yeah,
product that we sell. We're very selective of what we choose to sell for third party for the reasons that you mentioned. We want to make sure every guest is getting a good experience, taking
yeah,
into the account the human factor. Anytime you put a human in something, there's always going to be something that could potentially happen. You know, the driver could get caught into an accident, he or she takes a wrong turn, you know, and which results into less of what we're expecting. So as that person, you know, that's supplying that product, we take the time to test and make sure that we're offering the right products that will hold the best and that we're choosing the right type of materials to hold our product to present the best. And at the same time, we turn back around and hold our third parties accountable for being on time when they're
yeah,
there to pick our orders and looking into if we have any complaints that orders were, you know, delivered much later than when they were placed. And then we have things such as geofencing that is in place with our app usage that helps the customer understand our food is ready at this time. Okay, we're waiting
yeah.
for it to be picked up, and you can track your order from the time that third party person picks it up until they get to your residence.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, it is such a difficult, I mean, because you were saying like before COVID, you kind of were getting to that point.
Right.
You'd already started. So like you were in a position to like sustain, like to like, I mean, I suppose accelerated learning. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like as in where
Yes.
one you were like, oh, a couple of stores have dipped their toes. Actually, we need to get this rolled out across the board like today. Versus like, I hear like, from a lot of people, it was like, COVID got them to that point in the sense that like,
Mhm.
would they have made a transition to know all these things as quickly as possible? It remains to be seen. Do you know what I mean? So like, I think you
Right.
guys are very, very, very much ahead of it. I guess if people were listening to this, like, and they were hearing you, and I mean, God, you're so jovial. It's amazing. I mean, like, I can see why you've done so well because, like, I love the smile and the
Oh,
energy. It's fantastic.
thank you.
Tell me, Marshall, like, it was like a peer of yours listening to this. Okay, so like, there's director of ops somewhere listening to this podcast, or like director of talent or whichever. What would be like your advice to them for say 2024? That was in a growing business like yours.
In 2024, I think be very adaptable to change, learn to work cross departmental and collaborate with peers, and be willing to take advice from peers in other industries and look in the mirror many times during the day.
Look in the mirror.
Yeah, look in the mirror. My team, the growth and everything that you experienced, I wouldn't be able to be a part of it or do any of it without the amazing people that have supported me along the way, invested in me, and helped me grow. So from that, I say, remaining to be collaborative with everyone around you within your business, even those that are within other business, asking questions on what they're doing to find out is a key way. And just remembering that people are the first, the best resource of any business that you can have.
That's amazing. And honestly, like I feel like I should come like work for you, almost, Marshall. Like I mean,
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
amazing. I've enjoyed it. I work for a great company.
yeah, I mean, it's like radiating through the screen here to me. I mean, like, one of the things, like, I mean, we could talk for hours on this. I feel like there's just so many things. I know we're basically at time now, so like, it's like, I mean, we could keep going and keep going. But I guess like that's why I wanted to finish with like your kind of word of advice because I think like it's so important for people to hear that like, you are on a rocket ship, and if you are on one, it's like listen to people, look in the mirror, take time for yourself, take a breath because like there's just so much external pressure to like pull it off and make it happen. And I mean, it's interesting because you're in the service industry, and like the best and worst thing about the service industry are people's expectations
Right.
because it's amazing when you meet them and you really hope they're happy, but like when you don't meet them, they hold a grudge for like ever. And it's kind of like this all or nothing, and it's like so hard. I had somebody on you laughing as we were talking about hotels, and they were in a hotel, and like hiring for a night manager is like nearly impossible. Like it's a really difficult role. It's probably the hardest role for like a hotel place to like hire for. And you need a certain kind of person. It has to be a real team person, has to be kind of relatively kind of personable, but also like has to be willing to work in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? Which is obviously like an upside down kind of behavior. And like how to keep your cool, how to find that person who can like, they're saying like somebody gets up to late flight and they're in at 2 o'clock in the morning and they got a baby crying and everybody's stressed out and that person's coming to you. And the line you have to manage there to like make sure that person gets into the room as seamlessly as possible, that you can look after that person. And if one thing goes wrong, irrespective of like their stress and whatever, like you're towing that kind of line. And then I think that's what's so fascinating about hospitality. And I think it's why people love it, because it's like, how can you just deliver the best experience to people with the best quality, like, ingredients, environment, people, and mix all those things together for people who want to come back again and again and again and again. And I mean, the fact that you guys are north of 800 locations, I think speaks volumes to the quality of operation that you and your team are responsible for, Marshall. I mean, it's amazing to me. I'm actually so impressed here on this call.
Thank you. It is a great brand. And what you just said, I think that is what has brought me full circle just to continue my pathway in leadership is the time that you make that customer that is so happy, whoever he or she is, that takes the time to reach back and say, you didn't have to do this, but you guys did this. You just never know how you impact people.
Yeah,
Today, yes, there's a lot of things going on with a lot of people. And understanding and taking the time to talk and listen is important nowadays, even more
totally. Yeah.
so than it always has been.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And I think that's a great way to like pause the recording and say thank you very much for coming on, Marshall.
Thank you.